It is live now. So, welcome everyone. We're here with Claudia. Gonna just wait a couple of minutes before we start. And
Mm.
welcome. Hello, Brian. Hello, Carol. Yes, the sacred business story. So, our goal with this, honestly, is just to connect with people that that they're doing something cool in the world, that they have a secret business, and Claudia is definitely one of them. To inspire you, maybe you're like trying to create something, you're like on your writing journey, and it's just in a space, honestly, like for inspiration. And we also like to invite you, like if you're here listening to us and you feel inspired and you're like, hey, I have a secret business, I have something fun that I'm building in my life, and you want to, be featured here, just send us a message and we would love to have you here. Um, yeah. Hello, Susan.
Do you sometimes do lives just the two of you alone, or do you always have people coming on?
We actually we've never done it, but we were talking about that I think like 2 days ago. That like maybe we could just like join once, just Phil and I, and have a conversation, about like something. It's interesting that you asked because we had this conversation like literally like yesterday or the day before.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just getting started with all this, but it's been a ton of fun so far, and we've been loving the connections, not only with the folks like yourself that are coming on, but just like the people we're connecting with afterwards. So it's a very cool format. And yeah, for those of you that are just joining us, again, as Carolina said, this is Sacred Business Stories, and this is really our weekly Substack live series where we're having honest conversation with creators about what it looks like to create a business that aligns with your deepest truth. And so today, I'm excited. We have Claudia Faith. She's probably one of we haven't had this conversation with her, but we came on to Substack back in October, kind of at the advice of Landon Poburan. Do you know Landon, Claudia? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I've
I have
known
a
him.
guest later today.
Cool. Yeah. So we've known him for I've known him for years in a different context. And it was content that he was producing over on Facebook that kind of caught my attention, and we started experimenting over here. And then you were probably one of the first people after Landon that I started seeing your content around Substack and found it really helpful and useful. So thank you for being part of our own story of starting to get some traction here on Substack. But 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 yeah, Claudia, like interesting story. Like when did I know you shared with us that in 6 months you went from kind of having big zero audience to making a living here, having a newsletter, branding, coaching. Like when was it that you actually joined Substack?
Yeah. I joined Substack in May last year.
Okay.
So yeah. So in May I came on here. It was very much really just writing for myself kind of the first couple of 3 months. I think like everybody is, if they don't have a huge following somewhere else, or if they're just new to this entire online writing or online creation journey. Yeah, but I've done that, and then roughly around 3 months in, I started to see some more traction. By the way, I have one question, guys, because I think now that I had to redo this link invite, I think it didn't get sent out by email to my subscribers. I don't know if you think that's a problem or not, but just wanted to say that because it's on my mind.
Uh, that's okay with us. Maybe
Yeah.
sharing it afterwards is fine.
Okay.
And But yeah, like really, I guess I wanted to share a little bit about with you and then get your thoughts on is like kind of what we see this idea of sacred business as. And it's
Mhm.
actually, I'll let Carolina do it because I feel like she has the most eloquent explanation. Do you want to share kind of how you see that, and then we can get her thoughts, Claudia's thoughts?
Yeah, like I was just actually thinking while I was listening to you, and you kind of like share about like writing for yourself, like, oh, I just got here and then I was writing for myself. And I feel that that's the beginning of like every sacred business journey in a way. It's this thing that you do for yourself because you love it, because you have a spark of inspiration, and until it becomes something bigger, until you start serving others. But it's really this like authentic expression that fulfills you, more than anything. And I would love for you just to kind of like share more about like what like when was the thing that really changed, that you start getting traction, and then like how was the beginning that like maybe nobody was like liking your stuff, and and how you kept going like in your journey.
Yeah, I mean, to answer that, maybe I have to tell uh, a bit more about my background journey. Because I'm a more of a classical entrepreneur, where you have like a startup and you have VCs coming in and investors and all of this. And last year, in the beginning of last year, my startup kind of had to pause a little bit and to slow down. And that was a time where I thought, okay, and it was a lot of pressure because you have so many people and influencers externally coming to you. It's a lot of, things that I mean, obviously you have investors coming in with money, and then it's just a whole other story. You're no longer just building something, but it's a different, I don't know, it's a different setup and a different journey. And I always thought, that that's something I really like. And I wanted to do my own startup. I kind of come from the startup world, have built businesses, but never really on my own as a CEO with, being kind of like main responsible for this. And I had to do it to find out that I hate it. I really don't like it. I don't like to pitch. I don't like to talk with investors. I don't like any of it. And then last year, where it was like, okay, I think this doesn't really work for me. I had to kind of look for things that I actually really want to do. And what I want to do is to create things on my own terms and my own, just with me, because I have that trust in myself that I can do it. And so I kind of started figuring things out last March. I started writing on Medium. But that was not for me, but I'm happy that I tried it out because it had been on my mind for kind of like 7 years. And I always thought like, okay, I really want to give it a try. But then I left Medium pretty much 2 months in. I mean, I'm still there, but I'm not very active. And then I found Substack, and I always knew I liked writing. My favorite part of my startup investor journey was actually writing those investment email updates. Like
Mm.
every second week you write your group of investors like, hey, this is what we've been doing, and I kind of that was really the most fun for me because it allowed me to be more creative, and I was able to use my emojis and kind of like, hey, this is like more. It's really like was the most creative part of my job, and so I thought, okay, if this is the most fun I have doing, why not exploring that more? And so this is really how I kicked it off on Substack. That's how I got into newsletter writing.
Mm.
That's awesome. It's kind of like doing the things that you don't like, and then there's one thing that sparks something. You're like, yay, there's something there, right? And then you
Yeah,
just follow, like.
yeah, and I think the reason is really because the role of a CEO is honestly like pretty uncreative, like you
Mm.
reach out to investors, you reach out to partners in whatever field you're doing it in. But it's pretty much routine, automated work. It's a lot of teamwork also, but a lot of about creating structures, processes, I don't know. And at least I felt it's not very creative. And at that phase where we were in my startup, like I tried to live out my more creative side by, like creating company culture and values and all of this. But to be honest, like we were not there in this phase of the startup that really became super relevant. So yeah, so that was really my way to be creative. And yeah, that's how I got here.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, even the investor updates, I don't even in my mind, I don't even think of those being particularly creative. But then when you talk about it and you talk about the emojis and things like that, it's cool that you're able to use that as an outlet and find ways to bring fun into into
Yeah.
your routine. That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's also like writing to an audience because, though they get so many emails from so many companies all day long, and you kind of want to make it also fun and interactive for them. Um, so yeah, that has been my thinking on my way of doing
Mm.
those investment email updates. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And then when you joined Substack, then you started writing like about stuff that you were liking at the beginning, or you had like a goal, for example, or you had something, I don't know, already, or it was maturing, like it was evolving, or you like, this is what I want to do, and like how was it?
Yeah, on Substack, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was actually pretty much finding out what I like to write about. I tried a lot of things in the beginning. At that time, I was also traveling a lot with my camper van through Europe. So I thought that's something nice to write about, and I started writing about it. But it didn't feel super right. I also felt like, okay, it's so tough to build up your audience. Just for people who are camper vanning in Europe. So that, I liked it and I might pick it up again in the future. But yeah, I felt like at that point it felt more like a chore. Um, and then I also started writing, more about design thinking and kind of design your life concept. And because I took a year in my university to really focus on design thinking and designing like your life concept and all of this. And I'm really passionate about it. And so that's also I started writing about. Um, but also it didn't really stick. I feel like, okay, you kind of need to, I jumped also a lot from topic to topic and it didn't really work. I jumped from really camper vanning through writing, through design thinking, and there was no path through it. So I also dropped that. And then I started really writing mostly about, my process of writing online and how to do that and how I grew and what worked and what didn't. And that's what people resonated the most with. And so I kind of stick with that. Um, just started a new newsletter though last week, which is more about, online business and online entrepreneurship. And I'm excited about that. Because that's a bit more where I can bring in more of my background knowledge and not so much only about my process, which is great, which is fun, but it's also cool to talk about things that I've done before.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what is your opinion about like the balance between like writing about something that you really love and then writing about something that people want to listen, like want to read about it, for example. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's in a way, it's fun. I think it was fun for me either way to write, and to connect with people. And it didn't really matter so much for me in the beginning, okay, what it was they connected with, if I had people like connecting with camper running or traveling or whatever. So I think it's in the end, it's really mostly about how it's, at least for me, it's a good way to connect with people. And then the motivation comes with, that you see what also works online and what works for, to build a community and to build those connections. So I think in a way for me it was not a linear path. It was definitely also about what works for me, what works to get to people. And I knew, if I wanted to write about something else, I can also do that again at any point I feel like, So yeah, I think it comes a lot with connections and the motivation that comes with just talking to people.
yeah, yeah, I love that. I believe it's yeah, it's about the connection that you make like with others, and then how you feel connected to whatever the platform and the people like they're like reading you. Mhm.
Mhm.
So right now, I know you shared your work, you've just launched this new newsletter, you're focused on branding, coaching, helping writers get paid, which I love the simplicity of that. I didn't really identify as a writer before coming onto Substack, but I've loved how being on Substack has brought that out even more. Like I've written a newsletter for a few years, but just like being here on Substack, I feel like that really has drawn out just more desire to express. And yeah, so I'm just curious, like, what is your main focus right now in terms of what you're creating from on the business side, that kind of on top of this journey that you've shared with us today?
Yeah. I keep on, writing a lot about Substack because what I feel is that Substack is growing so much and there's so
Mhm.
many people coming onto Substack all the time. And it can be so, so overwhelming. You can be a writer on, you can have your blog, you can have your website, you can have whatever is your writing journey or even like books and so on. But you come to Substack and it can be so overwhelming. Like I know for me, it took me 2 tries. Like I've signed up on Substack and then I left for a week because I was like, okay, I have no idea what this is, like what the hell am I doing? So yeah, I think a lot of people are overwhelmed, when they come on first. And so my one of my goals is, with Wonderwealth, helping people to navigate through Substack. It has so many features and so many things that I still discover. after almost 1 year, really every day on it. And that's, I keep on sharing that. So it's very heavily Substack focused, helping people setting up Substack, writing, and then getting paid through Substack with their newsletter. But then the news thing is really more about, okay, now you have your newsletter, but how can you turn this actually into a business? You know, like there's so much more to just writing your newsletter. I mean, you guys know it, but you know, it's like, so it's a lot about marketing promotion, which a lot of writers are not good at. It's a lot about, you know, then also creating other offers for your audience, you know, and um, you know, through digital products, through also with helping with the help of AI now, there's so many tools that you can use as a writer that has a newsletter to to really kick off your entrepreneurial or solopreneur journey. So kind of helping writers to take that next step and focus on really creating a business around it. That's what I will do next.
Mhm. I love what you shared about that's so interesting because I never really thought of it, but we don't like really teach Substack. Like that's not our thing. We help people grow online businesses, but we have been recommending a lot of people to come on to Substack, and then we do tell them like, oh, check out, people like yourself or Write Build Scale or Landon's work. And
Yeah.
but it's what I realize it's very much my experience too is I've seen many of our clients come on and kind of there's this lag where they get excited and then they start their account and then a few weeks go by and nothing's happened and then some of them are finding their way back. And so yeah, it's just very interesting. So I'm really glad that resources like you exist to help those people kind of find their footing. It's very great.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, especially I think if you, like I said before, but if you come from a blogging website or Medium even, it's so straightforward. And to be honest, I think Substack's user journey is not great. Like, you know, like the smartest people get lost all the time because it is a lot. And I think it doesn't help that there are so many bugs still and there's things changing all the time. So yeah, I think a little help is needed in the beginning, and then
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
you get going.
Mhm. Cool. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit. One of the things that we talk a lot about with our audience is this idea of fear and how it's completely normal to experience fear, especially as you're stepping into kind of your more meaningful work and things like this. So I'd love to ask you how you relate with fear, and if there's, as you've been kind of going through this journey of putting yourself out there more and more publicly, is there one area specifically you could think of where fear resistance shows up for you? And kind of how are you working with that on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I mean, of course, I think there are a lot of fears for everyone. I think we all have them. I think for me personally, it's a lot about, is it enough what I'm doing? Is it enough that with my background also being less of an online entrepreneur and more of actually an offline entrepreneur, do I have the right to come here and tell people how to do it
Mm,
online while I share my journey, So I think those fears, they exist. I know a lot of writers have imposter syndrome. I think it's similar to that, but then again, a bit different. But how I deal with it is very public. Like usually I write a lot of notes about motivating or inspiring others. I write a lot about in a way, my own fears, because it's a lot about like, don't let other people disencourage you. Trust yourself, trust your journey. You do you. And I say those things because I have to tell them to myself too, like all the time. How I deal with it is just being really, I think, open about it and saying, this is my journey. And if you don't like it, then, ignore me, and that's totally fine. But yeah, writing notes that help me, writing those little quotes that, from all those great people out there. Um, that's a way to help me and my mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I love that because yeah, we say things to others, but it's always a reminder for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a way to ground us. I'm like, yes, just keep going, keep showing up, and yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this, there's one very famous line, and like coming a bit from design thinking, but it says trust the process, and that's really my motto. It's so much, whatever I do. trust the process. I do a lot of things. I do a lot of like building in public. So I ask people for feedback. I'm not so much of a perfectionist, so I don't wait until, things are perfect to post them or do them. I just do it. I get it out. I get people's feedback, and you can change things all the time, and then, it's a learning curve. And as long as you trust the process, you'll end up somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the hardest things for many people. Like we're always saying, I like to say this phrase, let it be messy. And like, for
Mhm.
example, when we were creating our manifesto, um, it took about a year to get it where it is today, but we just kept putting it out there like in its rawest form. And then we're like, you know what, we can publish this. It's not perfect, but I can go in next week and like adjust the piece and do whatever I want. And so I really resonate with that idea of like, not letting this perfectionism block you from putting things out there. And from my experience, like it's from going through that process of letting it be messy that you get, the best guidance and feedback for where you're trying to go. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you shared that.
Yeah, and I think it's especially important for people on Substack,
Mm,
because you have a lot of writers, and I think writers more tend to be like introverts or shy or a bit more of the
mhm,
calmer people on social media or online. And I think those especially need this kind of confirmation to just, let them know like, hey, this is so fine. To be honest, like your first 10 posts will probably not be seen by a lot of people. So let it be messy and let it
yeah.
be, your own process of learning and growing. And yeah, and I think, while I'm telling this myself, I'm telling it to all the new people and writers on Substack as well. And yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
and it's such like a rich way to receive feedback, right? Because I think of like if you're so stuck in your head, and let's say if you write a piece and then you look at that piece again, you're just getting your own feedback in a way. Like you're seeing that through your own lenses. That was the same lenses in a way, or a little different from the lenses that wrote it then. And then now all of a sudden, like if you just put out there, then you get like people liking and not liking it. It doesn't mean that you need to change, right? It doesn't mean that the people telling you that they don't like means that you need to take action. But it could like work so well as well, one, you feeling rejection, and just dealing with that and it's still showing up. And then maybe there is something that they tell you that it is valuable and you're like, yeah, yes, like maybe for next time or maybe on this one I can change and I can improve. Like it's so, so rich. And I love seeing people like asking for opinions on Substack, hey, I just did this. What do you think about it? Hey, I'm building this. Like, what? And then you get like a bunch of comments because people like that too, right? So
Yeah.
it's an important reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%.
mhm. Cool. Well, the next question I have for you is around connection. And so this is, as you said, and a lot of our clients, I feel, slant more on the introverted side as well. But like, I feel that one of the biggest challenges a lot of our clients face is this idea of like how to create meaningful, authentic connections online. And so I'm just curious for you, how do you approach connection? And for someone who's kind of, since you're the Substack person, like as they're finding their way onto Substack, any specific tips or guidance you would have for people trying to feel more connected and find their people here on Substack?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with which kind of mindset you're coming onto Substack, right? Because I think if your mindset is, you want to just grow very quickly and make money and those things, then it's going to be hard for you to find real connections and community because people can tell. So it's it's not a big revelation, but my biggest advice would really just be to be yourself, to be very authentic, to let people into your ups and downs, to share those, like for example, on notes, people sometimes get confused because they think notes are stuck to the publication, but notes are really stuck to your own
Hmm.
profile, to you as a person. So you can have multiple publications, but notes will always stick to you. So it's kind of a way for you to create this trust and credibility with people. Um, and in the beginning, your notes will not be read by a lot of people if you just come on newly. So what I recommend there is, go to other people's notes and posts and see what you like, what resonates with you. interact with people there, because then you kind of know already, okay, those are people you want to connect with if you like what the author writes and what kind of community they have on here. So kind of find your people that you like to interact with as a first step. Write notes as a kind of as a tool to really connect, um, to connect with people in terms of, they see you, they can create this relationship with you. Write direct messages. I do that a lot. I do think it helps, like every subscriber just gets a little DM from me. It helps to connect this or create this extra connection. And then finally, I really think let people see you. So I think video, those live sessions help a lot to just, let people know that you're not AI, you're not a robot, you're you. So yeah, I know it's so scary for a lot of people. They don't, because writers on Substack, they don't come from TikTok or Instagram where they, like sharing themselves all the time. So it can be scary, but it's really worth it. And if you don't want to be on camera, then do a podcast. I mean, Substack also has that. It just allows people to connect with you in such a different way. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think this video format is well, I always tell people one of the things that we teach is like when there's something that you feel the resistance around, that's almost like the thing you need to do. And so for myself, I actually very much do not like being on video. Like I still get very uncomfortable every time I do it. And complete honestly, it's one of the reasons we chose this like interview format because like for myself personally, it's a
Mm.
way to force myself regularly to show up multiple times a week
Yeah.
and be in this format, but not have the attention be 100% on me. And so, yeah, I love looking for ways, for people to do that, that take them right to their edge of comfort. But yeah, I found this, this has been one of them. This format, even though this is like only the fourth one we've done, has been like one of the most rewarding ways of connecting with people. And even as we've been like setting up our schedule, like we have think we have two scheduled per week now going out into middle of May, and just like the side conversations like you were talking about with the DMs and things like that, just very, very cool getting to know people in that way. So um
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, yeah, I think for most people, it's this kind of extra push of, just doing it. But, yeah, I think it's really worth it. So for everybody who feels uncomfortable, like I think we all get it. But it's nice. And then you see that people interact with you and like, you can chat literally with a person. Sometimes I also well, I've done it once, but I want to do it again, that I just go live and then I just ask randomly people on the spot if they want to come, and just have a chat. And it has been so fun doing this because people are, you get to know like literally whoever that is randomly on the internet to come on a live session and chat with you. And it's fun. And I think that's also what, Substack is good at in creating connections.
that's
Yeah, that's
cool.
such
Yeah.
a great advice for connection because not like, for me, like I don't struggle a lot on video, but like the this thing of like talking to people that I don't know, that like how do you start a conversation? And I'm an introvert too, so if I'm like walking here, like I'm not the one that like hey, like that's not me. And then just like calling someone random and like hey, let's connect, and just the fact that you're like seeing each other in this online world makes like such a nice, yeah, and probably like a big difference. I think we should do that too, Phil.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, thanks for the tip. Well, cool. We're a little over on time, but I want to ask you, Claudia. I know that well, anyone that's watching us here or on the replay can find you here on Substack. But if anyone wants to find out more about your work or how to get involved with what you're creating, what would you like to share with them that might make most sense for them to check out?
Yeah, I mean, you can check out my publication Wonderwell, or just subscribe and send me a DM, or just like I'm really active all the time. So if people just send me a message, I 100% reply. So yeah, that's the easiest way.
Cool. And you shared a very nice article with us ahead of this call with some of your best Substack tips. So I will be sure to include that when we share this replay as well. So thank you for that, and thank you again for being here. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And again, like it was so nice as we were coming onto this platform to see people who are kind of leading the way in terms of how to find your footing here. So I really appreciate you
Thank you
doing
so much.
that for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
thank you.
super
Thank you
nice
so much.
to connect.
yeah,
Thank you.
cool.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, Claudia.